To this week's meeting of the Columbia Rotary Club from a fantastic venue. We're glad to have all of you. We'll get started today with the singing of our national anthem led by Audrey Brown.
Please join me if you feel inclined. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Nice job, Audrey. Nice job. Thank you. For this week's invocation, Mike Bruce.
I have to follow that. I'd like to do something maybe a little bit different today, and that is for us to share together in a Native American prayer from the 20th century. Could we bow our heads? We pray that someday an arrow will be broken, not in something or someone, but by each of humankind to indicate peace, not violence. Someday, oneness with creation, rather than domination over creation, will be the goal to be respected. Someday, fearlessness to love and make a difference will be experienced by all people. Then the eagle will carry our prayer for peace and love, and the people of the red, white, yellow, brown, and black communities can sit in the same circle together to communicate in love and experience the presence of the great mystery in their midst. Someday can be today for you and me. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. You may be seated. Actually, before you sit down, take a minute and greet those around you. Shake hands. Say hello. Welcome, everyone. Great to see such a big crowd with us, and to welcome visiting Rotarians and guests, Meredith Atkinson, who is the Executive Director of Vista Guild.
Thank you, President Mark. Welcome to Columbia Rotary and welcome to the Vista. Many of you know, and many of you may not know, but Mark just mentioned I am the Executive Director of the Congaree Vista Guild, which is the organization that oversees the Vista District, which we are enjoying right now. We are thrilled to have My Carolina Alumni Center in the Vista and thrilled that you are here today. I got word that we do not have any visiting Rotarians with us today, but if that is not true, please let me know. And if I could get a volunteer to grab the mic, we would love to welcome our guests. Hal's going to grab that mic. If you'll stand with your guest, we would love for you to introduce him or her to the group.
Well, I grabbed the mic, so I'm going to start. I have a couple of guests today. Blake Buchanan is with Fireflies, corporate, sales, marketing, all sorts of stuff. You're all going to get to know him well. Need the mic. And then Glenn Matthews with Modern Exterminating is here today, both of my guests.
My guest is back in the line with my dad, Miles Johnson, a fellow Wofford Terrier classmate and suite mate. Miles is the Director of Team Services for the Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands.
My name is John Johnston, and my guest today is my mom, Lydia Johnston.
I'm Vance Eaton, and I'm pleased to have my guest today, Johanna Valenzuela. Johanna is a USC alum. She is in the Consumer Protection and Antitrust Division of the Attorney General's Office.
I'm Kay Shaw, and my guest today is Dinah Long. Dinah is a lifelong friend. She is also a former employee of the University of South Carolina and earned 2 degrees from USC. Please welcome Dinah.
Hi, I'm Dot Royal, and you all know Gail Averett, and Gail has been missing Rotary, and I did bring him 2 weeks ago, and so we've decided that he needs to be here every Monday, and we've arranged for that to happen. Gail will introduce his assistant.
Assistant Deborah Strupel. I'm Jerry Bright. With me today is Gerald Smith, who will be joining our ranks in the next induction.
I'm Lee Turner, and this is my close friend Bobby Price, who is the owner and president of Ray Market Research. He's also a USC alum.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Glenn Ward. I have my son Trey with me today, and Trey is a sophomore here at the School of Business.
Any others? Yes.
I have with me Scott Campbell. Scott comes from Naples, where he's spent the last years, from Virginia. He is the new CEO of Providence Hospitals, LifePoint Health, and is going to carry forward the mission of the hospital as a Catholic hospital for us. So we're glad to have Scott. Maybe we can get him to join.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to see so many guests. We again welcome you. If you'll indulge me just for a minute now that I'm up here and thrilled to see this many people in the Vista and in this beautiful building. What's so exciting about being up here today and taking advantage of this beautiful building is I know you all love the Vista, and you are in the Vista right now. We all love dining out in the Vista, eating and drinking and shopping. But I'm going to give you 700 million reasons why you should love the Vista even more, and that is the amount of development that is happening in the Vista district right now. That includes a couple of finished products, which is this beautiful building, the My Carolina Alumni Center. But what's really exciting about that number is the big number and the millions of dollars of student housing that has come to the Vista district. Of course, we saw just a couple years ago with the addition of the hub on Main Street that the student population downtown grew just overnight. It wasn't but a couple of years ago that there were just a couple hundred students living in downtown Columbia. We gained the hub, which took that to about 2,000 or about 1,500 students. And just this last year in the Vista district, we added 650 Lincoln and Greens Crossing. So we have about 3,000 students living in downtown Columbia. And it just goes to show you the great relationship that we have with the University of South Carolina. We thank Dr. Pastides and all that he does to continue to bring the best and the brightest students to Columbia. We certainly enjoy seeing them out on the streets, living in the Vista, living downtown. We'll see the addition in 5 Points with the station at 5 Points. They certainly spend their dollars very well, and we hope they continue to do that. But I just want you to be very, very proud of your university, very proud of downtown Columbia and all that this fine city has to offer. And it is very exciting of the growth and all that is coming. So thanks to the university, thank you to Dr. Pastides, And again, welcome to Columbia Rotary and welcome to the Vista.
Welcome to everyone. I do want to thank a couple of folks, moving our club that's met for 20, 25 years at Seawells to an off-site location. It doesn't just happen. David Jameson, Jamie Ford, Bob Diggle, Debbie McDonald, certainly Jesse Bullard, and Libby Gover. So many others have had a hand in this. And if you wouldn't mind, as you leave today, to thank them and to just applaud their efforts to bring us off-site to a new venue. So. Okay, health and happiness. Mr. Martin Moore is going to bring this week's health and happiness report.
Hello. Health and happiness turned in for members. Tom Gammon with Signorama won Business of the Year at the Irmo Chamber Gala on Friday night. So congratulations to Tom. We have had a member donate Wofford, South Carolina baseball tickets, anonymously donate Wofford, South Carolina baseball tickets. As at Pastides, in full disclosure, the only time I ever pull against my Gamecocks is for my Terriers. So, the game is March 8th at 7 p.m. Great seats right behind the South Carolina dugout. The proceeds will go to the CART fund. The idea was a silent auction. So what does Rotary do when we have to have an auction? We call Jimmy Derrick. Jimmy, would you run our silent auction? Martin, why would an auction be silent? I don't have a volume knob. When I run an auction, I have one setting, it's sell, it's loud, it makes people buy things, okay? You understand? We said, well, what do we do? So the auction committee has created the first ever Jimmy Derrick Columbia Rotary silent auction. The auction sheet will be at the front desk, and the auction is open through the close of the meeting next Monday, the day before the game. The tickets are here, and Jimmy will be able to look at you, but will be silent as you bid, so please bid. All of this was Jimmy Derrick approved. When Wes Hickman asked me to do health and happiness on February 29th, I said, yeah, right, February 29th. I said, well, okay, it is leap year. I thought, for all you leap year fans, sorry, that's not my topic. What is February? Well, it's Black History Month. I reached out to my fellow Rotarian, new term President Mark, Roger Stroop. I ultimately made my way to Bobby Donaldson. President Pastides knows him well. He's an associate professor of history at the university, focused on African American history in the American South. Dr. Donaldson and I spoke, and he was very informative. And of all the impact and great influence blacks, African Americans have had on our country, long before we even were a country, the ones that have always grabbed me, jumped out at me, are the African Americans that fight for America. This club has such a history with Fort Jackson, the military. South Carolina has such a history with the events that happen here go on to shape and influence our nation in a better way. The story of Isaac Woodard jumped out at me. Isaac Woodard was born in Fairfield, South Carolina. He enlisted in the U.S. Army on October 14, 1942 at Fort Jackson. He served in the Pacific in the Labor Battalion. Woodard received an honorable discharge at Camp Gordon, Georgia, early February 1946. Along with a contingent of other discharged soldiers, black and white, Woodard boarded a Greyhound bus to head home on February 12, 1946, 70 years ago this month. A conflict was triggered on the bus when the bus driver belittled the Army veteran for wanting to stop and take a bathroom break. At the next stop, Woodard was met by the chief of police of Bamberg, who along with his deputies beat Woodard savagely with their nightsticks. Woodard was later charged with drunk and disorderly conduct before being moved to the Veterans Hospital in Columbia. He was permanently blinded by the attack. Fortunately, that incident didn't fall on the heap of forgotten events. The NAACP took up Woodard's case in the spring of '46, and the case went all the way to the top, to the desk of Harry S. Truman. President Truman expressed outrage over the attack on a veteran. President Truman created the President's Committee on Civil Rights, which published To Secure These Rights in 1947. Some of you history folks may know where this one was heading. This groundbreaking report led to the desegregation of the military in an executive order. A South Carolinian, and events that happened in South Carolina once again impacted our nation. An African American had changed our nation from here. General Abraham Turner commanded Fort Jackson and spoke to us. A South Carolinian. We all know General Charles Bolden, who runs NASA today. Many, many more names. Isaac Woodard died in the Bronx, New York, September 23rd, 1992. He was 73. Isaac Woodard, like so many African Americans, so many right here in South Carolina, fought to defend a country that wouldn't properly defend them. Out of respect for them, I would ask you to visit the Center for Civil Rights and History and Research and stop and read the Columbia 63SC signs. Thanks for letting me speak to you today, and have a great week.
Thanks for sharing that, Mark. That was very informative and certainly significant in the history of our state. So thank you. I'll now call forward Neil Coyle to make an announcement. Neil has for many years chaired our scholarship committee. Our club gives away a fair amount of money every year. I'll have Neil give you the details on it. But I wanted him to take a minute to update you all on what the committee's doing and what's coming up.
There's certainly no better venue or program than today to talk about our commitment to scholarships. As you know, we provide scholarships to students each year. We usually have up to 8 students that receive scholarships. And these scholarships can total to $20,000 over a 4-year college stay. Currently, we have 7 students getting scholarships. 3 of them are at USC. 2 of them are at Clemson. 1 is at Winthrop, and 1 is out of state. We award 2 scholarships each year, and we'll get those applications middle of this next month, middle of March. And then with a very dedicated group of people, we will review those applications and interview probably 24 students the first week of April. And then the really hard work begins because we need to pick 2 of them to award scholarships. And we'll award those scholarships at a meeting at our club in May. But I want you to know that none of this could happen, because if you think about the dollars there, they are significant, but none of this could happen without the support of everybody in this room, everybody in the club. And this has been going on for a long time. And I want to congratulate all of you for your support of education. And if you have any interest in being involved in the selection process, or you want any more information, be sure to just let me know. Thank you all.
Thank you, Neil. Look forward to the next couple of months as we hear more about the candidates, and then look forward to the meeting in May when we award the recipients. Now I'll call on past District Governor Ann Walker, who has an announcement.
I don't know if this is okay, great. Let me ask if you've ever attended a Rotary District Conference. Please stand. If you've ever attended a Rotary District Conference. Okay, great. I want you to help me find these people. For good reason. There are a lot of us others who have not, and we have a good fortune this year. The Rotary District Conference, the location is determined by the current district governor. And so because Rod Plenderberg is from Columbia, it's going to be in Columbia, March 18th and 19th. And it will be right here at the conference center next door. Folks are staying at the Hilton, they're coming from out of town. They're opening up the speaker with a Navy SEAL, and on Saturday they'll have a nephrology service where they will remember our Rotarians that have passed on, like Jim Levinas and others in our club, and that will be about 2 o'clock on Saturday. If you have never been, please plan to come. And on Friday lunch, they're asking all the clubs in the Columbia area not to meet that week, but to come to Friday lunch. Our club, according to what Marcus told me, will not meet the following Monday. I think that's probably Easter week or something like that. So we will meet that Friday, go to the convention center, have lunch, hear the speaker. And if you can go for the entire conference, Friday night they're going to have a band, Heart and Soul. And then again on Saturday night there'll be another group. But if you've never been, please make an effort. Let Mark know, let folks know you can go online. But for sure plan on being at lunch on Friday because we want to fill the place up. So thank you so much.
Yes, do let me know if you're interested. I'll be happy to pass along the information. March 18th and 19th. So lots to look forward to. A lot going on in our club, from scholarships to upcoming events. So great time to be at Columbia Rotary. We'll now move into the program, and to introduce our speaker today, I'll call forward Beth Dendorf. A little bit about Beth. She is very involved in our city. She's been a member of our club for 3 or 4 years. She serves on boards at the Central Carolina Community Foundation. She's also a board member of the Sisters of Charity Foundation. She's very involved in the Midlands Business Leadership Group and Women in Philanthropy. She also, as many of you know, is the president of Columbia College. Beth Dendorf.
Thank you, President Mark. It is my pleasure today to introduce Dr. Harris Pastides, the President of the University of South Carolina. Unless you moved to Columbia yesterday, you no doubt know President Pastides and the university. Since becoming the president in August of 2008, the growth and accomplishments under his leadership are unsurpassed. Over 33,000 students on 8 campuses and growing. Over 450 degree programs and 300,000 plus alumni. #1 in the nation for the international business major and the international MBA. The list goes on and on. President Pastides has truly built a world-class university and continues to do so. The intellectual, social, and economic impact of USC on our city and state is tremendous. I want to share with you my personal perspective. When I arrived in Columbia from Minnesota in 2012 to become president of Columbia College, Dr. Pastides welcomed me. He and his wife Patricia invited my husband Ted and me to their home. He looked for ways for USC and Columbia College to partner for the benefit of all our students, just as he's forged partnerships with other higher education institutions. And while the other higher education institutions cannot rival USC for breadth and size, Dr. Pastides knows that when we work together, we are stronger and better for the benefit of all of our students. An example of this is we partnered together on Course Power, a minor in applied computing, so that all of our students, regardless of their major, have the technology skills they need to succeed in this digital world. President Pastides is my role model of the kind of college president I want to be. Now, when I arrived here as well from Minnesota, I kept hearing about the SEC. And being a former banker, I could not figure out why you were also interested in the Securities and Exchange Commission. Then I learned what SEC really means and the dominance of USC in athletics. Well, we also have athletics at Columbia College, and with all due respect, Dr. Pastides, the SEC is good, so is the ACC. I learned about them too. But they cannot meet or beat Columbia College's unsurpassed record because after 162 years, our football team remains undefeated. My fellow Rotarians, please join me in giving a warm welcome to my colleague and friend, Dr. Harris Pastides.
I'm humbled by that beautiful introduction, and if I may say, humility is something we all need a little bit more of these days. Thank you for leading the amazing Columbia College, founded in 1854. Welcome to President Jimmy Williamson, representing all the technical colleges in the state, and welcome home one and all. Now, yeah, I said welcome home. We're not all Gamecocks in the room, but we're all Rotarians. So when I say welcome one and all, welcome home, I feel like I'm having a Monday luncheon with my family. I look around and I see so many friends that I'm just dying to acknowledge almost each and any one of you. I see the Johnstons and I want to call them, and Gail Avert, who's done and meant so much, the one and only Dot Ryle, our Lieutenant Governor, Henry McMaster. I better stop because I'm tempted to go all the way around the room, but that's how I feel when I'm with you. I'm wearing a Gamecock baseball tie and the Paul Harris Fellow pin, and I think that's a great combination. Welcome everybody to the nation's best alumni center. I still call it a house. It's a pretty big house, but I like to think of it as an alumni house. Jack Claypool, Executive Director of My Carolina, is here. It is a 60,627-foot project that came in on time and under budget. Under budget. When is the last time you heard that? Entirely private funded, nearly a third of the work subcontracted to women and minority-owned businesses. 1 million pounds of structural and reinforced steel, 62,000 square feet of metal decking, 1,200 cubic yards, 1,200 cubic yards of concrete. That's 3.7 miles of sidewalk that could have been paved, all inside the building, and the beautiful finish work, the wood and the granite, something I think that our 300,000 living alumni all deserve and never had. Where would you come home to, the USC campus, if you were coming here from out of town for a game, or from, I mean, think about it for a moment. The Horseshoe, that's pretty good, but can't get a parking pass or, instructions there. And now we've gone from having relatively nothing to this beautiful, beautiful building. And much like the Rotary, by the way, our Alumni Association exists to build a dedicated community. The Alumni Center of Gamecocks, the Rotarians, a dedicated community of Americans, of American citizens, and building a greater community. During the flood, by the way, this very building served as a supply depot and logistics center, working with the city, the county, the military, state leaders to provide help to our ravaged community members. And in the future, it will serve to countless number of Gamecock families who will now have a place to get married in that is garnet and black, and that has already started. Jack, how many can we get into? This is the largest room in the Alumni Center. How many can we hold here?
Sir, tonight we'll have 900 enthusiastic Gamecocks cheering on Dawn Staley and her team as they get ready to go to the SEC tournament.
Well, fantastic. And let me move right there to this wonderful game yesterday afternoon. You know, to see a women's basketball team crying before a game made me very nervous. But they got it together. They missed a few shots and a few three-pointers to remain again so far undefeated in the SEC. Patricia and I will be down in Jacksonville. We only have time to see the championship game on Sunday afternoon. Anybody here thinks we're going to be in that championship game? Mercifully, the primaries are over. Anybody share that enthusiasm? Let's move on to whatever they call Super Tuesday. I had super weren't enough of it all. We had just about every candidate, I can say confidently, Democrat and Republican, on one or more of our campuses around the state. CNN, of course, aired 2 live town hall meetings. For the Republicans, of course, we had, let's see if I remember here, we had Governor Bush, Governor Kasich, and Donald Trump. And of course, we had one for the Democrats. I received more texts and emails from around the nation saying, your law school is beautiful. Henry, they did. Steve, they did say. Little did they know that we've got a more beautiful one coming up on the way. But CNN did a wonderful job with that. What an exciting time beyond the campaign. We had NCAA President Mark Emmert with me recently. We're approaching March break, spring break, of course, in March. And that means traffic on I-95 between South Carolina and you name it, Daytona, Orlando, Miami, and Key West. But I'm particularly enthusiastic about the students who will be doing an alternative spring break. They will be doing habitat projects around the country and even abroad. They will be in Alabama and Tennessee and South Carolina and Honduras working on habitat projects, just like it should be. I tell our students frequently, in fact, and I'm so pleased that we have a sophomore with us, Trey Ward. Any other current students, Carolina students in the room? So having Trey Ward here makes me happy and a little nervous. Anything good I say, he will nod with loving affection. And anything I get wrong, he will tweet it out immediately. So will Andy Shane, by the way, but that's okay. I tell our students all the time that service is the surest pathway to leadership. They ask me, how did you become a college president? Were you smart? I would say not compared to many people I know. Well, what got you there? I said, well, try to walk in other people's shoes. Try to empathize and understand what life is like. Well, how do I do that? Do I borrow their shoes? No, you go and provide service. Patricia and I did that, by the way, on MLK weekend. We went to Gills Creek and picked up trash, mainly plastic bags, at Gills Creek on Jackson Boulevard. It was one of the best things we could ever do. I'll be honest with you, I was not that excited that morning. 1,000 other things I would have anticipated, preferred doing, but when we got done in the early afternoon, you know, having put our gloves on and picked up trash and put them into the bags with other students and community members, I know I became a better leader and a better person. Don't ask me how, but it happened. We also volunteered at the Columbia Winter Homeless Shelter a couple of years ago, and some of you may have heard me say that, but I went there with some Gamecock students and we were making sandwiches for the residents who would be coming in later in the evening. One, according to the supervisor there, who was very good at giving us orders, he said 1 piece of ham, 1 piece of cheese, 2 pieces of white bread, and that's it. And the students wanted to put like a lot of ham and a lot of cheese on, but the supervisor told us, no, we do that because the residents know if they're still hungry, they come back and get another one, and a third, and a fourth, but better not to waste. To which a student quickly said, you know, I was hoping, sir, to meet some homeless residents of the shelter. That's kind of why I came here. I wanted to see what they were like, and he turned to her and said, young lady, I live here. It was the supervisor who was telling us what to do. He said, you happen to be down on my luck. Had to leave my family, hope to get back to them, but I'm living here too. And if that wasn't a lesson in service and humility and leadership that the students had, probably as good as anything, Trey, you could have in the classroom setting that I don't know what is. Wonderful things happening. We were in this very room last week with Governor Haley and General Les Eisner talking about a new initiative. Who knows what it was? Very important topic. Cyber security. There is nobody in this room who hasn't been probed or tested or prodded And at some point, the experts tell us they're going to get every single one of us, right? Doesn't every one of you have a blonde Russian friend in need of a little temporary support? You get emails from her just like I do. Well, you know what, Trey? They tell me that your colleagues, about 50% of Carolina students, open those emails. And the percent that do it from the faculty and staff isn't much different than that. And then, of course, we've got the other kind of cyber crime looking at social security numbers and credit card numbers. So simply put, we think if South Carolina can be a place where companies can train their IT employees in state-of-the-art self-defense, cyber self-defense, we'll have more economic development in the state. If we continue to do R&D of the kind that really matters, because you know there isn't enough money in the Treasury to fully protect us from cybersecurity. I happen to serve on a bank board, and I literally know there is not enough money at the bank to do everything that the experts tell us we should do to prevent the bank fully from cyber, nor at AT&T or anywhere. So we've got to get smart in this area. I know of no state that's particularly better off than any other. We'd like South Carolina to be that state. For 6 years, by the way, USC has been the only national security agency center of academic excellence in cybersecurity. We're going to be working with Clemson and the Citadel and the College of Charleston, with the Department of Commerce, especially with private companies, big and small, to create a center of academic excellence in this area. I learned recently that USC had been ranked as the top global university in South Carolina. That means a lot to me. The world is a place that is growing smaller. The reach of other nations and other peoples is around us all the time. We are developing partnerships with one country, one or more countries in every continent, every region of the world to do deepening faculty exchange and student exchange. South Africa, in Africa, where there's a huge population base, they want to access our online educational programming. In South America, one Portuguese-speaking and one Spanish-speaking country, Brazil and Mexico. In Asia, Taiwan. Why Taiwan? Because everybody is in China. China's a big place, but it's a very crowded place. Sometimes I'm in Beijing or Shanghai, and I see more of my U.S. presidential colleagues there than I would in Chicago or Washington, D.C. So we have to be very selective. Taiwan is a sister state with South Carolina, and there's a lot of interest in collaborating in high-tech R&D and activities. And I'll soon be traveling to Havana, by the way, later this spring. Why? Not as a tourist necessarily, but because they have an emerging tourist economy and they're in bad shape. Guess who's got a world-class tourism college right here at the University of South Carolina? We're going to take our tourism and hotel and travel and restaurant faculty. We're going to tell them that we can help them. We're going to bring our partners from Marriott and Hilton and Sheraton and tell them, let's provide a USC opportunity. We'll consult with you, we'll give you online education, we'll translate into Spanish, because you're not going to be getting the worldwide tourists to Cuba by just showing the 1950 vintage American cars, which I do want to see, by the way. I'm looking for a two-tone Chevy, what do you think, 57, 50, 55 you would like? Aqua and white, maybe? Something like that, that would be great. I'll take a picture and post it on Rotary, on the Rotary's website. And I want to leave time for questions, but let me tell you, we're also looking for a better place for our medical school, our cherished medical school that opened up in 1974 as a result of the Teague-Cranston Act that said, if you're a community in the United States that has a Veterans Administration hospital, we'd like to collaborate and do some medical education. So we were given and still occupy the land. Everybody knows where it is, out on Garner's Ferry Road, for $1 a year. That's pretty good rent. but everything's changed now. The VA is going through a lot of changes, and I don't want to get into the politics of that, who's right, who's wrong, how good is the care or not. But the VA has told us no more free lunch, where you're either going to start paying market rates, which are really quite high, at least that's what we think, or you'll have to find a different home. So we're looking in Columbia at where the options might be. We think it's time for a renaissance, if you will. We'd like to grow the impact of the USC School of Medicine, and I think that's something that you'll be able to look forward to. But by the way, it will be in Columbia, in case you're wondering. Okay. We also confer about 5,000 health science degrees per year, by far the largest university in the state with respect to the number of health degrees that we confer every year. And when you think about it, that is a growth field. That is a growth field. Nursing and pharmacy and medicine and social work and public health and PA and nurse anesthesia and physical therapy, on and on. So we think that we will be continuing to increase this university's impact and reputation by growing and paying even greater attention to recruiting students who want to follow these medical and health careers at USC. Let me wrap up and maybe leave a couple of minutes, President Mark, for questions by saying applications are strong at the university. Good news for you, if anybody here is yet to be announcing another student residence project. Anybody here thinking of another one? By the way, let me say for the record, I think they're all going to be successful too. I don't know if we're saturated or not now, but I think the majority, if not all, of the projects going up are going to be happy places filled with happy students. I'm not guaranteeing that, nor is it skin off my back, but I think the growth in the university, the understanding that if you live close to campus and can walk to campus, you'll probably be happier and frankly more successful academically. So I'm not overly worried about the number of student and related apartments going up over town. As you know, and this is not always accurately reported, but we have a 10-year plan to raise the size of the freshman class from 5,000 to 6,000. And we're in the third year of that, so we're hoping for a freshman class of 5,300 to move in on the weekend of August 15th and 16th. So if you could get out of town that one weekend, that'd be really good, mainly for you, frankly. August 15th and 16th, so it is measured growth. It's not reckless growth, not wanton growth, not unlimited growth. No limits doesn't mean in terms of the number of students. So 100 a year from 5,000 to 6,000, and then I think we hit the stop button for a long time, because that's about what we believe our infrastructure will allow. The school spirit is strong, as you may have noticed. Students are spirited these days. They complain a great deal about what, everything, you name it. About, I can make a joke, it would be true, about parking mainly. They're just like in our generation. They're also concerned about so many other things, but especially sustainability. They hate if we use styrofoam. They hate if we serve water in plastic bottles. They do not like buildings where the lights are on in the middle of the night. And they're always pointing things out like that directly to me. Amy Stone, our board secretary, was with me this morning, and she probably saw a steady stream of undergraduates who were there to, yes, young lady or young man, you're here to, just to see the president. Well, you know, is it something that anyone, nope, gotta be the president, gotta be the president. And these are the kinds of complaints, which I welcome, by the way, that I get. Sports after a tough fall, okay, I'll take that one right on the chin. What a great spring it is. What a great time to spring back, be a Gamecock. We've got not one, but two teams going to the big dance, to March Madness. That men's game's going to be tough. You know, they say we may be an 8 seed. I don't know. We still got a little way to go, but we're going to be in that difficult place where you probably play somebody probably about as good. So you're not going to get a 16 or a 15 or a 14. You're probably going to get a 7 or, you know, be a 7 and get an 8. And both of those schools, whoever our adversary, not an adversary, a competitor, a nice, wonderful competitor, will be, they're gonna play fearlessly on a neutral court. You all know we were outstanding at home and not always outstanding away, so I hope we get a draw that's somewhat close. Dawn Staley, one of these days we'll figure things out, and the Gamecocks will against UConn. What can you say other than the word dynasty? But just like Rome, just like other dynasties, just like the British Empire, you know, upon which the sun never set, UConn's time is gonna pass. And I'm not predicting when, but when it does, guess who's going to be the next dynasty who wins it all? That will be Dawn and her ladies. Softball, great record. Baseball, undefeated. I don't know how many runs they've scored, but they've got some big boys out there on the baseball field. Sand volleyball, if you've never been to see beach volleyball in Columbia, South Carolina, that is worth the price of admission. There are 3 or 4 matches that go on simultaneously, in case you didn't know that. So you can move your attention from one sand court to another. So finally, in closing, let me tell you, it's my 8th year. Closing our 8th year with Patricia, we still feel the energy provided by you, by our communities in Columbia, in the Midlands, in the state. And although there's never a day without a speed bump, may I call it that, you know, what you do when you get older in a position, it's not that you don't look at the speed bumps, that would be reckless. And it's not that you stop, because you wouldn't get to where you're going. It's just like driving down the road when you've got a speed bump coming up. You slow down, but still travel at the highest speed you can without bottoming out your car or getting a ticket. And that's what we're doing at the university. We take our speed bumps in stride. We'll continue to have measured growth, but unmeasured, I think, in our excellence and quality. And a big reason for all of that is we're in the best medium-sized city and in the best state in the United States, Columbia, South Carolina. Wonderful being with you today. Thank you, one and all, for your support. Thanks for coming to this beautiful building. Thank you very much. Great. Well, Mark says we have a little time, and he'll tell me when we no longer have time. Anything on your mind? Anybody? Yes, John.
Dr. Pastides, some of the programs at Carolina, actually all the programs at Carolina are top-notch. Some of them, though, you talked about the healthcare. I know I've got a friend who's doing the nursing track, and there's not enough spots for the students. Are we going to be able to grow those high-demand, high-impact areas that you were talking about and target the growth?
Yes, and nursing, physical therapy is another one of those. Speech pathology, these are all controlled by licensure. So the accreditors will not let you take one more student until you hire the number of faculty, and as well as have the physical resources. So in nursing, I don't know if it's 11 to 1, maybe somebody here knows better than I, 9 or 11 to 1. It differs by state. North Carolina has a larger number, but in South Carolina you're capped. So you've got this number of faculty, and until you grow the faculty, you can't take another nursing student. We'll hire more faculty. Not so easy when you could work at Providence Hospital and earn more as, let's say, a master's trained nursing supervisor than you would being an instructor or professor at the College of Nursing. So that's on our radar. We do want to grow it, by the way, for sure. We want to do more online. And nursing, you could do that because a lot of the nurses who want their baccalaureate or master's degrees, they already have their clinical training. And many of them are working as nurses. So you could do the academic and administrative part of the training online. Kirk?
Yes, sir. In your 8 years, what would you categorize as one of the more difficult responsibilities of the position as president of the university?
Well, you know, the thing I find most difficult is when we have the loss of a member of our community, and although the older members of our community, like in your organizations too, are always a moment of human tragedy, there are far too many students that we lose, and the president is always responsible for making a call. I'm not the first responder call, but I call within the hours or days following the loss of the student, whether it was an accident or whatever purpose, and that never gets easy. Absolutely. The only thing I've learned from that is that you will receive love and gratitude from the people you're trying to console. Why is that? That, you know, we think this is going to be the hardest thing we could ever do, and that the people might even be thinking, you know, why did I let him go to USC? When instead all you get back is, you know, that young man was a Gamecock until his dying day, and we will be forever grateful to the university. And then you put the phone call. It's kind of like working at the homeless shelter, Kirk. You kind of were picking up things at Gills Creek. You come back expecting that A, you wouldn't have liked it, but maybe you would have done someone a favor, and you come back feeling more uplifted than if you had just given a you know, some major speech somewhere. So, you know, there are many other things that have happened. Of course, the economic crisis, you know, that in October of 2008, when we got a fax, the government still used fax machines in 2008. Today it would be an email. And they said, we're cutting your budget 11%, and we said, I told my assistant, you mean 1.1%? And they said, no, 11%. You mean next fiscal year? They said, no, the fiscal year that you're in. That was a pretty hard day, too. Yes, sir?
Dr. Pastides, what can you and your colleagues at other universities do, or what are you doing about the costs of higher education?
Well, we are keeping it, first of all, we're not raising it much more. And so we've had the lowest increases in an era. But what we can do now really is to, several things. We can appeal to government, and we are. You know, the state revenue is seemingly better than it has been for a long time, but there are a lot of competing needs, and I don't need to tell you about that. But the other thing we're talking to Trey and his colleagues about is graduate on time. Graduate early. You know, nobody said that college has to be 6 years or 5. Or how about this one, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't have to be 4 years either. Well, what do you mean college doesn't have to be? It's 120 credits. You know, we developed summers off and January off and spring break and fall break a long time ago when college was a lot more affordable. So many of our students come with AP credit. You know what that is? Most of them come with a whole semester's worth of AP credit. I said it's like you take out a mortgage, you put down a down payment, you can pay off your mortgage and own your home sooner. So I said, don't waste that. That's a whole semester. Calculate what that means to your family. Use it. And then go to school in the summer at lower cost, by the way, and graduate early. So what we're doing is talking to students about not, frankly, wasting their family and their personal resources by taking too long to graduate. That may not be the answer you were looking for. We received $5 million from the state of South Carolina for what we call on-your-time graduation. We use that to teach many, many more courses in the summer than ever before. We have thousands of students now. The restaurateurs will be happy with that who are in Columbia in the summer. And it helps us too because they rent our residence halls out in the summer, so that's a win-win. Yes, ma'am?
Could you share with the group the percentage of, so many people think that we have state-supported institutions, what we really have for state minimally assisted institutions as it relates to the monies, the amount of money that you get from the budget of the state legislature compared to your total budget, the percentage is
It is. It was about 25% of our budget when I became president, and it's less than 10% now. In real terms, the state appropriation shrunk from about, call it $220 million to about $95 million in Columbia right now. And look, we were not the only ones who suffered the pain of that, but I will say that as the recession receded, most other states have been more, or have been quicker to begin to get their state universities. And by the way, it's no different for any other public university in South Carolina. We all face the same cut, and we've not even just barely budged on our way back to that.
Yeah, the private colleges get more per student than the state.
Some private universities, because there is a tuition grant program, and the General Assembly makes the same grant available to a student attending a private university in South Carolina as they do a public. And it's the same with lottery funding, of course, as well. So I don't want to be too vitriolic. We have a healthy conversation this year with the General Assembly, and I'm somewhat more optimistic than I have been in the past. But I will tell you, when I meet with my board, they're always saying, okay, thanks for the update on the state. Now, where else are you going to raise money? Not tuition. Where else are you going to raise money? And basically, I talk about online education as a revenue driver, and then more continuing professional education as well. Elliot.
Dr. Pastides, I hope this isn't a difficult subject because I know it's a costly thing, but the fan experience at the basketball games and football games has left me locked with my cell phone. And I talked to Ray Tanner the other day, and it's a very expensive solution to increase bandwidth and make Wi-Fi more available to folks in the stadiums. There's just so much use that it's just jamming everybody. So we're in that age now where we just have to have it, and everybody's always looking at it, checking scores at other games, etc. Can we take some of that Under Armour money or some of the SEC money and maybe enhance that?
Increase bandwidth? Well, we might do that. And I'm not. That's a wonderful question, but I'm going to just take that opportunity to end right now. I'm going to end with this topic relative to smartphones, but not about the stadium. So this is my pet peeve, that the students hear all over again. We have become, and the young people especially, addicted. But it's not the addiction to the technology that bothers me. They've become addicted to being distracted. I can tell you when they're in class and that thing goes on, or buzzes, or beeps, or tweets, they are not listening to the professor. And when they come home to do their homework, and that same thing happens. They'll read 2 pages of their history text, and then that phone goes off, and they're on as if that tweet or text or twerp, whatever it is, or email is more important than reading their book. And so I tell them this. I said, the best discoveries in the world, you pick your own. Mozart's Requiem, not a discovery, but a work of art. Your famous Impressionist painting, maybe. Einstein. They're all excited about the black holes bumping into each other. Hey, you want to hear the chirp? You heard the chirp? It's on my smartphone. I said, well, think for a moment of how Einstein developed his theory of relativity. I can guarantee you it was something like this. Go into a room, lock the door, and start thinking. And I said, I guarantee you he was not addicted to distraction. So thank you, Ellie. I think I answered your question, Mike. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Pastides. Thank you for the address today at our club meeting and for your membership at our club. We're glad to have you. Thank you for all you're doing across the city and the state. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll call on our President-elect, John Backus, to tell us what's coming up.
I'm excited about the month of March. We're going to have some good fun and learn a lot. Our first meeting, John Capps, the president of the Columbia Butterflies or Fireflies or whatever. Will be the status of our state highways, which you probably already know. And then last but not least, the last speaker is Will Muschamp. And there's a rumor that he's not going to be here, but I just checked, and I think he is going to be here on the 28th. So bring your Gamecock fans and come learn about our new football program on the 28th.
Ask him about the Wi-Fi.
We'll give another shot at that question. All right, please stand, and we'll close the meeting. I'll remind you all to come take a look. Actually, I'm not sure what Martin did with the tickets, the Jimmy Derrick live auction, but over here, come bid on those tickets, and we're going to close with a four-way test, the Rotary four-way test, and hopefully it's right here in front of me. Of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a great day.